So yeah, in this video I'm going to be talking about nature. And I'm going to keep this one relatively short and sweet. So 15 minutes is my mark, and that's where I'm going. So yeah. So this one is a bizarre one for me. It's not bizarre, but the more you think about it, the more you kind of, I don't know, it makes more sense. But there we go. So yeah, nature. To me, on Earth, there are multiple life forms. So on another website I've got, I spoke about life forms. Mushrooms being one life form, not unique to Earth. I think that Earth was just so lucky that perhaps in another solar system somewhere before Earth was even in existence, there was multiple life forms on multiple planets that had very different chemistry going on them. So the mushrooms would have come from a damp world. It didn't have any water, but it was extremely damp. And then we've got plants. You know, they were probably in a rich environment. You know, I always believe that plants are the oldest. Nature is the oldest life form. And the reason for that is it can breathe carbon, it can breathe oxygen, it can use sunlight. It makes a lot of its own stuff. It's very simple. So yeah, it seems to me that it's been around a lot to experience these sways back and forth. So I believe that one particular solar system exploded, and when Earth was being made, I believe that the guts from all of this, multiple different planets from another solar system, rendezvoused with Earth, and voila, this is where we get so many life forms on this planet. So mushrooms, and then we've got like, what do you call it? Nature. And then we've got humans. Now, whether humans are from the same kettle of fish as animals is, that's up to be debated. That's up to you to figure that one out. But there you go. So life forms. So we're just going to stick with these ones for now. If you want to find out more about that, the document is on another website. I will ping the link in the description, so you can go and have a good read about that, because it'll go into much more detail than I will on a video. So yeah, so this thing with nature, right, really fascinates me, is that, let's just go for a random tree here, like just random. And let's draw a nice little tree here. Beauty. So let's just say that this tree is representing all of nature. Let's put some little triangles on there, some triangular apples, because I love triangles and colouring them in red. I love red. It's my favourite colour. Anyway, not the point. And then we got a little stick man, and this stick man represents humanity. Humans. Yep, there we go. So here's something really weird, right? Because we are limited to a spectrum, right? Okay, so our ears are limited to a spectrum, our eyes are limited to a spectrum, so therefore, if we could see beyond the ranges, we would see more. However, most people will say that telepathy, telekinesis, is it telekinesis? It could be telekinetic, that's moving things. So being able to read minds, let's say, or being able to see without eyes or ears and senses. And the tree, nature, this tree, having no eyes, no ears, knows about us. I mean it, and animals, okay? And how? Good, yes, as good as your guess is as good as mine. So it doesn't just know us, but it knows our insides. Like, it knows what we like. Sweet food really balances on the palate, doesn't it? Even some good salads balance on the palate, really nice. Hydrate you, make you feel really good. Why? Well, that's because these are doing it on purpose. Why would they want you to eat your fruit? Why would these want you to eat the fruit? Well, you know, if another tree was going to grow under here, it wouldn't grow. Let's be realistic, okay? It's never going to grow. Any trees that fall down here, they're not going to grow. It's very unlikely, okay? Especially if you've got lots of them. New trees won't grow. There's lots of reasons as to why. Number one, competition. We'll steal each other's light. No good. No good for me. However, if I make something really sweet, said nature, and irresistible, that humans eat it, animals like the taste and eat it, they will walk away from the tree after eating this, and it takes so many hours to go through your system, and when you it out, you fertilize the seed. And this knew it, because if it didn't, why would it put seeds inside fruit? Why would it make them sweet? There would be no need to, because it would be wasting energy, wouldn't it? You're going to say that's a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences like that. Yeah? And the more you eat off of a tree, I've noticed, 2 blueberry bushes I've got. One where you eat the berries, and one where you don't. The one where you don't, the berries are tiny. Then practically, the bush slowly but surely started to die. And the one where you pick it, I get blueberries the size of 2p pieces. Here in England, the UK, I have blueberries growing outside. No greenhouse, nothing like that. They grow outside, and I get lots. Actually, it goes really well with my strawberries as well. So, you know, it responds to you. It knows you, just the same way you know it. But how? Because it doesn't see. That we know of. It has no eyes. Doesn't see. You see, you know, humans and nature, I believe that many years, millions of years back, so let's say we were in water and we were algae lickers. Our tongues were designed to lick algae off of stuff, okay? We're swimming in the ocean, licking algae. Constantly just lick algae and eating lots of algae, okay? It's what we did. And you could say, well, no, it didn't. But yet, when we eat stuff, certain types of foods, and we go to the toilet, if we were to leave it, it turned green. Eventually, it would turn green. Well, thus for what you eat, it feeds it's called a cycle, right? The food chain, yes? So what I eat, what I excrete, might fertilize what I then eat again, right? And thus for the cycle continues. Much like stars in the universe, that when one explodes, another star is born from its guts. So the same way that we were eating algae, excreting it out, that it was then our nutrients that we were putting in the water, then went on to feed a healthy algae system within the water, which then allowed for humanity to grow within the water. Let's just say, for example. And then, slowly but surely, as the birds, let's say, and the trees, nature was there, it progressed and made it to the oceans, okay? So nature finally made it to the side of the ocean, yeah? And let's just I don't know, just do some random bits of bob here. This is just like nature, yeah? Let's just say that this is all plants and stuff like that. And here is the ocean, and we would be in here. Our primitive humans, let's say, that right back in the day. And when nature got into the water, so if we've got the water line here, okay, and this is the sea. And then when the leaves finally then made it to the shorelines, coastlines, let's say, rivers, let's go for that as well. And let's say humans went upstream, and there were these green things hanging in the water. Well, because we were hungry and we eat, we thought it was algae. So we had a nibble. Not sure I like that. That was not like algae I've ever eaten before, is it? And the plants were like, whoa, it was just eating me. What is that? So part of it comes off and goes into your system. You excrete. This nutrients must go back into the tree to tell it that you are there. You see, there's this process going on. It's getting to know you. So as you bite into it, you're leaving some sort of DNA. Is it figuring you out? Like you are figuring out nature? Because you being a life form and it being a life form, you will say, nah, we didn't figure it out. Yeah, they didn't figure us out. It's impossible. How can they figure us out? The same way we figure them out. The same way we try and figure out animals and animals try and figure us out. Well, what is that? Why do they walk onto... So anyway, slowly but surely. Okay, and then you could be like, well, wouldn't have plants been in the water already? Isn't algae like plants? I have no idea. Well, you're going to call and split hairs through all of it on this one. You go figure it. Go figure. And then as the oceans rise and fall and rise and fall, the plants, the same way. Okay, so when the ocean rose and it comes up to here, high tide, and then washes out again, in, out, and then high tide, and then the rivers at the mouth of the sea start to, grow a little bit because there's not as much water to be pushed out, right? So when the tide comes back, the rivers that lead to the ocean start to back a little bit. Not much, but it's noticeable if you were to measure this, that when the tide's gone, the water is easier to run. Okay, and then when the water starts to come back again, the ocean, because of the high tide, the water that's coming from the rivers has got more of a push. So it rises a little bit in order to be able to keep the flow going. Because pressure, right? Two bodies of water, it's pressure. And the ocean is much more faster hitting back. So, of course, it's going to have an effect on how deep the river is at high tide. It's going to be deeper. And then at low tide, it's going to be more shallow because more water can freely run out. As this is happening with the river lifting slightly, it's lifting into the vegetation. Slowly but surely. You see what's happening in this? Lifting, falling, lifting, falling, lifting, falling. Meant that when it was high tide, prehistoric humans, let's say, would swim in, nibble in all of this stuff, and stay there for a bit. And as the tide slowly went out, humans slowly but surely were able to come further and further and further out of the water, and nature was slowly and surely able to get into the water. And this is how it happened. Nature helped us get out of the water, and in some weird sort of way, we helped nature get into the water. It's easy. And well, how? Well, because the high tide wasn't it wasn't for forever. Though the plants were not water-based, they could take this submerging and then they're, becoming submerged and then not submerged, then not submerged and not, high tide, low tide, low tide, low tide. Same within the rivers, the water lifts, falls, summer, winter, summer, winter, summer, winter. And slowly but surely, the plants were able to start becoming resilient to this. And slowly but surely, they started to adapt to their new environment, such as water. Ooh, not just any water. This one's salty, this one's different, this one's this. And slowly but surely, it made its way into the water, and we made our way out thanks to nature. Because as it got wet, and the tide then went, we were able to slipper about through all of this wet, green nature that's about. We were able to slither about through it and stay out of water, not forever. In the beginning, we had to return back to the water after a certain period, but keep doing this over 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, and you can slowly but surely see how evolution can start to get you out of the water. And then slowly but surely, we no longer need water anymore. Yet, if this perseverance hadn't have kept happening, and if it wasn't for nature, we wouldn't have anywhere to get out and go to, because we would have no food, And slowly but surely, when this was in here, and they were dangling their leaves in the water, let's say, the trees and different things, when they became in fruit and swell up with fruit, and this was submerged, we'd go and eat it. You remember the first time I said about it in the video that we went and ate that? Oh, don't like that taste. If you've ever brought up children, they're renowned for this, okay? Give them something. Oh, don't like that. No, don't like it. It's disgusting. Hate it. They, but at least they tried it, right? And then a few weeks later, you'll cook yourself the same meal, but they don't want it. Adamant that they don't want it. And then they're like, well, okay, I'll try a little bit more then. And they try it again. They're more sure, but a little bit still that hesitant, I don't like it. And then before you know it, they love it. Okay, and then slowly but surely they are pestering you for this type of food, and you have to constantly make it for them now. And it's like, yeah, damn, in the beginning you didn't even like this, now you love it. You know, so if you've ever had children, you understand that concept is perseverance. When they try something for the first, yeah, don't like it. The same thing happened back at primitive humans when they first tried these berries. It wasn't like the algae we were used to. Oh, didn't like that. But then you had another go and another go. After 100 years, after 200 years, after 1,000 years, and then slowly but surely, I like that. I like that more than this stuff now. I don't want that stuff anymore. Nom, 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 nom. And then they carried on eating. And again, this helped us leave the sea. Now, the peculiar thing is with nature, I love it. When we sit there and go and cut down trees and stuff, it's like, wow. Wow. Why are you cutting down the trees? Is it, let's cut down all of the trees, so when we put our nuclear technology out there and we put the price up, you lot will have no choice but to pay to keep warm, and you'll have to pay for electric. Because when there's no more wood, no more forest, no more of this, you got nowhere to go. And there's only one place you can go, and that's society, and you have to pay our extremely high energy bills, because, you know, it took a lot to make these. Is that it? Is that what the game is here? Because if it is, wow, ain't nothing quite like squitting on your own doorstep, is there? It really. There's nothing quite like cutting off your nose. Never mind your face. You know, that's kind of what it feels like. But anyway, back to it, that we cut down nature, and yet nature is the reason why we are walking around on this earth, really. The reason why we were out of water. Nature is the reason why we were able to breathe. Nature is why we are, certainly in certain types, we're kept clothed. We're kept warm. It's been sustaining us all of this time. And without it, eat meat constantly then. If anybody's like, oh yeah, we'll just eat meat, we'll be fine. Just eat meat constantly. Go for it. Off your chop. Go on then. I'll see how far that goes. Because, again, I wonder if the dinosaurs, number one, in my book, they died of a virus, or number two, they died because they ate till they were extinct. And that's what humans will do. If we run out of nature and only have livestock, how long before you think we will eat all of that, before we have nothing left to eat and then become extinct? Because when you eat meat, meat eaters always become extinct. Fact. Throughout the whole of life that has ever existed on this planet, anything that ate meat has always become extinct. Let's take a rabbit, for example. Let's just look at that, for example. They eat one of the most simplest things on the planet. It's called grass, right? They sustain quite a diet on that. Yes, among other things, but still, when the going gets tough, those things can eat grass and sustain. Yet if you eat a rabbit, it will not sustain you. Isn't that odd? You would go extinct if you were to eat nothing but rabbit. It's got nutritional value is minimal. In fact, non-existent in humans, I think, practically. So, you know, I find that weird. But anyway, rabbits at the end of the day, I believe, will be the ones that go on. Also snails, among other things, different things like that. But anything that eats nature will go on. Anything that eats meat will become extinct, because eventually your population will outnumber your livestock. And then if your livestock get a disease, I mean, this has been proven over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? Hand, foot and mouth. Mad cow disease. Do you want me to keep going, or do you get, you know? We then have to swine flu, blah, blah, blah. You can keep going. You can go and look on Google. Now tell me, how many plants do you know to get these diseases? How many plants do you know that would kill you if you ate it with a disease? I don't think I've ever heard of a case like that where we had to go and, you know, we had to go and cull a load of pears because of a disease. We had to go and, you know, cull the pears. We had to go and put them in massive pits and set fire to a load of nature because, you know, it's contaminated. It's got a disease. No? Anybody? Yeah, exactly. So, who's more resilient? Nature. Who is not resilient? Meat eaters. Why? Facts are right there for you. So, you know, and one thing that I find really fascinating with trees, I love trees. I love all nature, to be honest. I really do. I love it. Love getting out in the forest. Really do. And it's because, you know, you can build your homes from this. Okay, not so much now because, you know, I think we've burnt enough, but you could burn this to keep warm. You can regrow it on a cycle. This will also capture carbon for you. Naturally capture carbon. This will. You know, a mix of pollution, carbon, and cutting down trees. What do you think we're in now? A situation. Yeah, ain't that kidding. But without any eyes, without any ears. They know you were here. Also, when we take the seeds and go and farm, the plants grow wild, massive, huge, and in abundance. When we farm, nature responding to us by saying, yeah, you know what? Here, have more. Here, have even more. Because at the end of the day, that is a role of a human, is it not? Your green fingers. This. So, whether we journey off into space, whether we go to another planet, you're going to need this. This stuff here called nature, you're going to need it. Never mind the fact that plants, when you are isolated, I know, spent a lot of my time closed up inside my home, to be honest. Agoraphobic, yes? That's challenging at the best of times, but having plants that I take care of, the rarer, the better, and they grow really big, huge, actually, massive. And this is how I deal with depression, to be honest. Suffer terrible depression, oh my God, haven't we all? Really did. I was taking all of these tablets from a doctor, woohoo! Yeah, okay, maybe they were doing something, but for me, it just wasn't enough, to be fair. And then I got into plants. I tell you what, yeah, I'm having a bad day and I go and smack those leaves, not literally smack them, but, you know, go and tend to my plants, sort out the dead leaves, snap them off, snip them up, put them in the pot, you know, take care of my plants, all of them, take them around, go have water, you know, go downstairs, eat some berries, take some more care of all of my plants. I tell you what, I'm a different person. More of a mood enhancement, I must admit. It really boosts me. And being inside a forest, even though, you know, I'm agoraphobic, but then again, it's people, it's not places, oddly enough. So yeah, I'm working on it, to be fair. Not as bad as I was, but yeah, I'm getting there. So even with all of that, I found the best antidepressant that I've ever had, nature. Can't deny that. So yeah, medicate me, nature, natural. Let's go. You know, most natural things for me work really well. So, and I tend to have less allergic reactions to stuff that are natural than not. So, that's a very big indication that your body is telling you something. It does me. So, yeah, I think I've touched upon what I really wanted to touch upon with that. That it sees you, it knows you're there, you're cutting it down. Well, there's nothing quite like cutting off your nose, I've said it. So, yeah, but I just can't understand why. But there we go. I don't think I'm meant to. Interesting. So, yeah, I'm going to leave this one here. But, yeah, so, yeah, that is my version of what happened. So, there are probably other things out there, and they'll probably call this, is it called disinformation, for having an opinion on the way things could be, because you're not the person that they want other people to follow? Is that it? It's only the people that they say are the ones that are knowing everything? Because you say it. And because you didn't say it, it's disinformation, regardless of any fact, would dismiss it all together because they didn't say it. Is that right? Okay, yeah, so I think I've covered that on this one. I think I really have. So there we go. I'm going to leave this one here. 25 minutes. I was meant to keep this as 15 minutes, but I love talking. I do. So there we go. Yeah, so I'm out, and whatever you're doing, take care. Have a good night. Bye.